You're listening to Two Chunks and a Hunk, a movie podcast where we give pumps and dumps.
Hello and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders. I have coffee now, and I'm a chunk.
I'm Doge. I have coffee now, and Beck is from Earth, just not ours. The Hunk tore a hole in our dimension.
And I'm Carter Coffee. Coffee Carter. It's still just soaking in. And Chunk, please. You've been to space.
That'll work.
Oh, here we go.
I'm eating a cinnamon roll.
As am I. I could tell you why Doge is hunky.
Hey, why is Doge hunky?
Why am I?
Because we walked into Crumb and Kettle, which
Our
is like
favorite local joint.
the favorite.
Yeah, big shout out.
Because they got the good coffees. Sometimes they'll have Taco Deli tacos. Today, we had a lovely cinnamon smell. And we said, is there a way for us to eat it soon? And she said,
Can we eat that smell?
Hey, what's the deal with that
she said,
smell?
oh,
Can I
that's
eat
those
it?
fresh cinnamon rolls in the oven. They'll be out in 2 minutes. So everyone before Doge got one. Doge had to hold off a little bit. And so he kind of took the
I took a bullet
Took
for
the
the
bullet
team.
for his-
I took
for
a
his team.
cinnamon
real
smelling
hunky
bullet
move.
for the
He really
team.
put the L in cinnamon roll, but
Like he's sitting here smelling it.
Yeah.
that's
After
gotta be
Jordan
tough.
barely decided to even get one because he said he was too full from the 4th of July.
That didn't even change. I'm still too full.
I honestly, I want one really badly. And don't worry, I am getting one. She put another one in the oven for me. It'll be here in 15 minutes. And so there will probably be a break in the episode when I get my cinnamon roll.
Oh, 100.
But I am still full from the 4th of July. I was reflecting on it, and I started eating. I didn't eat anything until like 2 o'clock. And then I didn't really stop eating until like 8:30.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just kind of had one giant long meal yesterday.
At one point, I took a bite of a hot dog yesterday and genuinely for a moment was like, is it going to overflow?
Like, what am I doing right now?
Right. Is this bite of food, once swallowed, is there anywhere for it to go or is it just going to sit at the top of my esophagus?
That's holiday Carter. You know, I think 4th of July might be 3rd. It's like Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th.
In terms of,
I think I agree
in
with
terms
that.
of consumption.
And then, yes,
Pure gluttony.
as a local boy, and then it's the state fair.
Yes.
Oh, the state fair is
It's a
place
different
to
kind
eat.
of full, though. That's the kind of full that really could kill you.
Yeah. Oh, I feel my arteries just being like, you jerk.
Yeah.
That whole time.
You wake up and like instead of some kind of like blotch or a zit or something on your face, it's just fried in like a small section of your
small
face.
funnel cake.
It's just
Yes.
fried. Oh, God.
When I could eat my weight in those corn dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's Chelsea's number one, the Fletchers.
Ooh, boy.
The old 2-second corn dog. Have you seen how fast it is that they make those?
Mm-hmm.
Just shelling them out.
I think the last time I had corn dogs was on a 50-cent corn dog day at Sonic. And I spent $4.
Yes.
And
you got 8?
I had 8 corn dogs for
What
dinner
an
that day.
amazing feat you've done.
It was incredible. It was incredible. And they weren't even
Wow.
from the trash. They were fresh from Sonic. And I ate them.
You're going to start getting way ahead of those before we can even get close.
I get comments from people a lot about like, you know, I've seen all three of you guys and like the chunk name doesn't really fit so much anymore. All of you guys are looking good. I hear that a lot, which is awesome. But then moments like these happen where we reveal our true like inner chunky ways
Oh, there's a lot of you out
and that
there.
they're
though.
still there. And I love it because it's like, you don't know me.
Yeah.
You don't know what I'm capable of doing to myself.
Please do not judge me by my cover. I will eat 8 corn dogs for dinner soon.
Real soon.
I might have even done it right now.
That's funny. What else is this podcast for?
I don't know. I'm going
I'm
into
fine with this if y'all want to just keep talking about food.
Welcome to Cinnamon Rolls and Coffee Bros. It didn't rhyme. I wanted it to rhyme.
We better stay with 2 chunks.
Welcome to
that
Who Let
sounds
the
like a movie
Welcome to Who
podcast.
Let the Corn Dogs Out.
That's pretty good. Who?
Welcome to. Nope. I was gonna do something like orange chicken trash. I didn't say banana. It was really bad. It was like
Yeah,
the
that was
joke,
really
the
bad.
knock-knock joke. Instead of orange, you glad?
Yeah.
but putting the chicken in.
Welcome to, okay, here's a podcast. It's called Corn Dogs and Wild Hogs, and it's where we eat corn dogs.
We ride our motorcycles to every local corn dog joint. We try to do one in every state.
That would be a good podcast. No, I have a better idea.
Corn Dogs and Wild Hogs. Coming to the Travel Channel.
This is where we eat corn dogs and only every week discuss the Tim Allen vehicle movie, Wild Hogs.
Do you mean the John Travolta vehicle movie?
Oh, yeah, they both are, huh?
The motorcycle vehicle.
Remember the William H. You mean the William H. Macy vehicle?
Is he in that too?
Yes.
Good
dude.
grief. We should do that movie.
I never saw it. I just know those things because it really stood out to me. I was like, is this a joke?
This feels like a really weird way to start an episode of our podcast about a really huge movie. But here we are.
I'm sure everyone can tell what movie we're talking about today, but
So let's just go ahead and say it, right?
say it. Yeah.
Today, of course, we're talking about
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh, man. Okay. It's time. Hey, Doge.
Yes.
Do you have a little something for me?
I do.
Would you? Oh yeah. Use your Doge tingle and help me out here.
I'll spin you a web of words.
There it is.
Before we get too much farther, I feel like we've got to say, huge spoiler alert.
Yeah.
For
Big time.
all of this stuff.
Dude,
If you
the
haven't seen Far From Home, if you haven't seen Endgame, if you haven't seen Iron Man 1 from 2008,
Yeah.
if you are not caught up on the Marvel
This is just
Cinematic
a
Universe
blanket spoiler
movies,
alert.
enormous spoiler alert. You're going to have a bad time if you listen
feels
to
like
this.
spoilers are a bigger thing for Marvel movies because
Yeah,
they're
they're
usually
huge.
pretty twisty, and you do have this whole universe that it's like if you spoil this, you could mess up the adjacent movies coming and just recently released.
It's a Jenga tower, I think.
Oh, such
of
a good way
movies
to
and
put
ideas.
it. Yeah.
That being said, everyone who is not caught up has turned off this episode, no doubt, but still downloaded it because they love us and want to support us.
100.
Spider-Man Far From Home picks up in 2023. This is the unsnapped reality. Peter is still dealing with the death of Tony Stark, and he feels this kind of immense burden, and he is forced with figuring out how to be a hero in a world that has completely changed.
Yeah.
And that's really general and really broad, and that gives us a big sandbox to play in for the next 55-ish minutes. So
True.
that's it. That's all I'm going to give you.
There it is. Something that I'd like to do before we go much further.
Yeah.
I do want to say, for those of you that might not have heard Two Chunks do a Marvel movie before, you're in for a treat. And this is just me as also someone who gets to experience it. But Jordan and Doge, like that was foundational. David Blease, who I replaced, the three of them started this podcast as a let's tackle the entire MCU and DCU.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun. It was hard for me. We got to have probably more conversations about a movie before we record the podcast than usual because I really could not say anything to them because I want to pick their brains. All that to say, both of these guys know a lot about comic books and a lot about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so we always get such good feedback about Marvel podcasts that we do.
They're fun to talk about.
And it's usually fueled about you guys. It's never the one dude that didn't know the name of that planet. That was my favorite part. Like, no, that's me. But it's really fun. So I'm excited to talk about this. And Doge, is this your number one? This is your guy? Is this your favorite superhero ever or just your favorite MCU?
Favorite fictional character, actually.
Amazing.
Wow. My number one boy of all time.
Fun. And
That's
this
awesome.
is coming from the guy who brought out a Greek mythology book for Hercules. And we did.
Right.
Disney doesn't. So get ready for the knowledge.
So, this movie, as Dosh said, basically immediately starts off with like, hey, if you didn't see Endgame, your life is ruined now because it is immediately into sort of the dangers of a post-Tony world.
Yeah.
Which leads to an elemental in, was it Mexico?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we see...
A reference to the one that's the cyclone one, but we see our first one we see is the Earth one.
The Earth
Right.
elemental. Yeah.
We see eventually
Which makes me think of Hercules. That's so funny.
Oh,
The
yeah, like the
Titans.
Titans. We see Mariah Hill and Nick Fury, right? That's our sort of first shot of this movie is dealing with the aftermath of something that's happened in Mexico that we don't really know.
Yeah, they said it had a face.
It did have a face.
Yeah.
And then our boy, Quentin Beck,
Shows up.
lands on the ground.
Good.
Superhero landing.
Yeah.
And
love a like pre-title sequence scene.
oh yeah,
And it just ends abruptly like that.
yeah.
That's so fun.
It was like, what did he say something?
Yeah,
When he landed?
Either like a "you shouldn't be here" or a like "this is a below," like "this is too hard for you" kind of thing.
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
Like, you're gonna need my help. Something along
Something
those
like
lines.
that.
Yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And then we get one of the most jarringly strange Marvel title sequences
Yeah.
in a long time.
Comic Sans in memoriam, and then I Will Always Love You with really low resolution images of the dead Avengers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
It's
It
really,
was
really funny.
so funny because we find out it's a high school newscast
Yes.
produced in memoriam.
Oh, it's so good.
So
and
funny.
I thought the girl from the announcements was Betty Brant. It's not.
really.
Is it?
It is Betty.
Yeah,
That
it?
is Betty.
that's
yeah.
Betty.
Oh.
Yeah, they say her name.
Yeah,
Like it's
both
in the
those
lower
kids
third.
end up going on the trip.
Do they really?
Uh-huh.
Okay, because the dude from the announcements is from Brigsby Bear.
Oh,
I
one
love
of your
him.
favorite
Yeah.
movies.
I love him very much.
Okay, cool.
So we get very funny announcements. Like right off the bat, this movie is much like Homecoming, like so funny.
I think this was funnier than Homecoming.
I
I
think
think
so too.
the class, the interactions with the other students, the interactions with the teachers, I think this all worked for me a lot more than it did in Homecoming.
Yeah.
Martin Starr, at
Yes.
one point in this movie, he plays the teacher. What's his name? Mr.
I don't know. I don't remember
Starts
his
with an
name.
H. He's the chaperone. And at one point he yells, "I'm trying my best." And it's so funny.
He's
Yeah.
great.
Like he crushes it in
Yeah.
this movie when he
Yeah.
talks about his wife faked being snapped and they had like a
Yes.
funeral for her
Oh
and
my
all of this stuff.
gosh.
Like he was just killing me at every turn.
You know what? Like Marvel continues
Julius,
to.
that was what he said. I'm
And
trying
I-
my best, Julius.
Yes. And I promise I'm not. Okay, I'm drinking the juice, but I promise I'm not. Like, I'm trying to look at this critically.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Marvel continues to be really brilliant with the things that they do. I started thinking about what a perfect world. Like, if you're saying each hero has their own world,
yeah.
Yeah.
okay? What a perfect world for us to go to after the devastating results of Endgame.
Yeah.
What a great person to have Peter Parker and his friends
Yes.
to just kind of be there and be like, hey, it's okay. We're still young. We got energy. Like it's gonna be good. We get to see the humor of a high schooler. I thought that was brilliant. I thought
Yes.
if we did all of this and then we went to Thor, it's either gonna be too funny that it's disrespectful, or it's gonna be unnecessarily something else, right?
Yeah, like
because
really
it's like a
serious or
fantasy. I was trying to
somber,
think of like what
right.
are the other worlds going?
Well, one of the things that makes Spider-Man so great as a character is one of the things that makes this work as the story to wrap up Endgame, which is he is so people focused and so average person focused as a hero, as a character, that he spends this movie surrounded by more normal people than any other hero we have.
Well,
There's-
that's the inspiration behind the character, right?
No,
like
right.
like when Stan Lee created him, the goal was, what if we had a hero who could A, stick to walls, and B, worried about paying his rent on time? That he's relatable
Right.
in a way that Tony Stark and Reed Richards and Bruce Wayne are not at all.
Right. But even in this movie,
Yeah.
there's no other character that we could feasibly make an entire movie where they're surrounded by average people who are feeling and dealing with the consequences of the snap.
Yeah.
And a big old pump to the actual real relationship that showed blatantly on screen between Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
That also has added it's made it so poignant. It has
Yeah.
made that relationship and this movie more meaningful. And I could just, he's not my super pump because I don't think I feel like I've done it before, but Tom Holland
Tom Holland is
he's-
so
as
good
Peter
in this.
Parker,
I think he's on another level in this movie too.
and everyone who even works with him, it was fun. I love Jake Gyllenhaal too, so it was fun to see when they're doing their media junket. It was fun to see those two interact. But almost everyone says, and Jake Gyllenhaal even says, I know that people say this on junkets all the time of like, they were the best to work with. We're friends even outside of this. He was like, you need to hear me. Tom legitimately is a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
And I love this kid.
That
and I
is
think
super
he
cool.
is so talented. And I was like,
That's
dang
awesome.
it. But that's not the only person who said that about him.
Yeah.
And that's funny that he kind of is the little brother of the MCU. It feels
Yeah.
like everybody picks on Tom, but I think he loves it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I would. I mean, who doesn't want Anthony Mackie to make fun of them? You know what I mean? Like, that's so fun.
Yeah.
But we get at the beginning of this movie the setup, which is we're going on a trip. We're going on. Is it? Is it?
Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. It's a science trip.
Okay, but is
Yeah.
it a summer trip? Is that what I'm getting?
It's a summer, like a study abroad summer
okay,
trip.
that's what I thought.
But it's a science trip because he's at a magnet, Midtown Magnet, like science high school.
Right, and he's got a plan for a crush, and that crush is, of course, MJ,
MJ. Yeah.
played by
Zendaya.
the wickedly talented Zendaya.
She is Michi.
She also
is
is.
Michi.
And I'm in on this joke now.
You now know about
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. But she really does a great job here.
She's kind of everywhere right now.
She is
Yeah.
kind of everywhere right now.
I dig it.
Yeah, I'm all about it. We also get our boy Ned back again, which
Yeah.
is always a treat for everyone.
Like Ned, the chair.
The chair.
Yeah.
The guy in the chair.
Yeah, yeah.
We get some Spider-Man action in New York before we leave, don't we?
No, he's just at that fundraiser thing that May's doing for
That's
homeless
what it is.
people.
I
Here's
knew
what's funny,
he
though.
wore the iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny though. So Marvel keeps doing this thing, and they're really tricky. That there's almost always now, like for the last 5 or 6 movies, a scene in the trailer that is not in the movie.
Yeah.
So what made me think of that
The
too? And be
cops?
like, yeah, no, he was. Yeah, that he was like fighting in the stealth suit already. Someone in New York before he went to go.
Right.
Didn't happen.
He is doing something with the police, right? No, he's just interacting with them at the fundraiser.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
only ever in the fundraiser and then on that roof
Yep.
right after the fundraiser. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we get in New York of the suit. And then we're done with the iron
I
suit.
love the relationship between him and May with her knowing that Peter's Spider-Man. It's super fun. in
Yeah.
this.
I didn't know that it would work for me.
Really?
Well, when they first revealed to her.
Like a year ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when Homecoming ends and it's
Or
what
2
or
years
whatever.
ago. Yeah.
I didn't know that it would work for me. And it really does, I think. Because I think if she was elderly, it would not. Because I want, an older Aunt May who is kind of oblivious. But when she is younger and I feel like can sort of protect herself, or I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but
Yeah.
as a younger Aunt May, it does work for me, I think.
That's the thing. Being a big time Spider-Man fan, it's hard to separate this Aunt May because this is so different from anything we've seen before. It's
Right.
probably closest to Aunt May in the Ultimate Universe, in which she finds out Peter's Spider-Man and then opens her house as like a foster home for some of the kids from the X-Men when
Cool.
stuff goes wrong at the X-Mansion. But there's this, I don't know. There's this disconnect for me because I really, really love the story that we do sometimes with Aunt May where Peter willingly tells her, like, I'm Spider-Man. And she goes, I've always known.
Right, yeah.
I love that element. And it's a little sad to me
Yeah.
that we won't get that in the MCU, but no, I can live without it,
Sure,
Yeah.
but it's different now. Like
Yeah.
much is different now. I love that they're doing. What's the name of her food pantry?
It's Feast.
Feast.
Yeah.
I love that they're doing Feast.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
It's from the comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah. May runs a homeless shelter in the comics called Feast. Well, she doesn't run it. She co-manages it with Martin Lee, who turns out to be a supervillain called Mr. Negative. If you've played the Spider-Man PS4 game,
Mr.
big
Negative,
point, yeah.
he's just like
This is-
really like.
He's just a downer.
this
You
storyline
know that
was
cinnamon
adapted.
roll was 2,400 calories, right?
Probably was.
I believe it. But yeah, eventually Spider-Man deals with Mr. Negative and May runs Feast. This is adapted for the PS4 game if you've played that recently.
But Feast is a really cool way of showing audiences like Aunt May's heart for people.
Yeah.
Which is a huge part
It
of
gives her
character.
agency. It gives her something to do other than just sitting
Worry about
and waiting
Peter.
for Peter to rescue her from the Green Goblin or something.
Yeah. I agree
From a
with that.
casting side of things too, Marissa Tomei represents such a great example of what the MCU continues to do.
Yeah.
And it's like every role, like, is someone who you've probably heard of. Like, she doesn't even, like, even Gwyneth Paltrow, she had a bigger role in Iron Man 3,
Yeah.
but it was still just kind of someone in the background as like playing legitimate support that has the acting chops to not have to worry about them.
Yeah.
And then, especially too, because Tom Holland was not a big deal. I mean, we played Extra Credit for the first time, trying to say, what is he, top 4 things
yesterday,
he's known for? And 3, and we thought maybe even possibly 4 of the 4 were these Marvel movies that have happened within the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to see how, and I think being such a sports fan too, a lot of times you sign veterans to try and get the young kids that are really talented
To come like learn underneath.
Yeah.
to learn underneath and then to give them support. And that's really what it feels like they've done with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
For
I
his-
really do love him.
Yeah.
I do too. He's
Yeah,
so
me
good.
too.
He can't be my super pump because I think in almost every Marvel movie where he is and where he's in it, he's my super pump. So I'm going to try to do something different this
Do you
time.
think
but
it made it a
he's
little-
so good?
Do you think it made it a little bit sweeter that we got Spider-Man so late in the MCU? That he got to be such a big thing to be introduced in Civil War because of all the Sony stuff?
I think so. I think at
Like-
the time that like when everything was starting, I think he would have been like they would have done him instead of like Thor or something.
Yeah, I was
if
going to
they
say,
could
like,
have,
he would
you
have
know?
replaced somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I think it would have been a completely different vibe if the MCU had Spider-Man
I agree.
from day one.
Well, and I think it helps him not only feel younger than everybody, but newer than everybody. You know what I mean? Like
fresh in every way.
Right. He's not only fresh on the scene in universe, he's fresh on the scene here for us watching too.
And that fresh vibe, too, makes it... Because if we had watched another 8 movies on top of this one that Spider-Man had been in, the
Yeah.
concept of you're the new Iron Man...
Might
You
not
would have been
hold
like,
as
just
much
do
weight.
it, kid. Look at all the stuff you've done already.
Yeah.
But he
You're
still is
accomplished.
so brand spanking new.
Yeah.
So I always wonder what came first. Like, was it written around... Like, are they using that to their advantage? That they just introduced Spider-Man? Like the
I
MCU,
think so, yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
interesting.
I think so. And so I think that now is a good time. So Peter's dodging Nick
Yeah.
Fury's calls,
Yeah.
goes to pack his stuff. Aunt May throws his suit in.
Yep.
I'm actually glad to be rid of the iron suit for a little while.
Yeah.
I'm just, give me fabric Spider-Man all day.
Yeah, the Iron Suit felt appropriate for war, which is
Yes.
kind of what the last
Yeah.
3 Spider-Man movies
You got
were.
to put on your
Not
armor.
Homecoming,
you know? And so he's off. And I loved the TSA scene. That was great. I thought he was going to make a cosplay joke.
I actually didn't love that.
Really?
Yeah. Why would she not say, "Wait, you're the Avenger. You're the kid."
Oh, I feel like it was pretty clearly like anybody can make a fabric costume because it's
I
not
thought
some
so, too.
iron suit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think that's sort of the joke is his regular suit's just fabric.
It's like the little kid walking around on Halloween with a Yoda
Right.
outfit on in E.T.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
It's
so.
just
yeah.
another alien.
He's not, Doge, you know that kid's not actually Yoda, right?
Wait, no, Yoda's in ET. The real Yoda.
Doge, you know. But, and then we end up it's not Venice first, is it? It is Venice
Yeah,
first.
It is Venice. Yeah.
And,
Because we have the water elemental.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Good place to put one
Sure.
Yeah.
In Venice with water.
with water in Venice.
That's true. And so here's my question. Why did we even include bringing the suit? I don't think he ever puts it on.
I think
He doesn't, does he?
I think the suit is there to show us how much he's fighting against doing it.
Right. I think
Because it would have been that easy.
To just go put it on.
It's there. It's in
Yeah.
my suitcase.
Yeah.
But he's like, no.
But he gets caught out without it the first time. And then he gets a new one the second time because he says
Yeah.
that he doesn't want to wear the suit and be recognized.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I'm
Well,
trying to
that's-
figure out what the purpose
mean,
of including
that
I
it
might
think
would
it's
have been.
because he's trying to dodge the responsibility of Spider-Man and trying to hide from the notoriety that comes with being Spider-Man. You know, I think he couches it in, if they see red and blue Spider-Man, they're going to know it's me. But I think more than that, it's like, I'm going to be recognized and I'm going to have to do something. And I want to break. Because he doesn't want to be, you know what I mean? I think there's an element of like, I want to live up to Iron Man, but I don't want to be the next Iron Man.
Right.
Always on call, always on duty. I want to have a life.
Yep, 100%. And the fun part too is like, even though it doesn't, in comparison, and I think it's supposed to juxtapose like a lot of what other heroes are wrestling with, like these decisions of this or that. Like Thor's got like his legacy and ruling a world that is not Earth,
Yeah.
things like that. But for it to just be a relationship, a
Yeah.
girlfriend
Yeah.
is
And,
the central thing that's like pulling him and stuff. I love that.
and the way that it's all handled is so high school in a really like pure and real way
Yeah.
that makes it. I mean, I always forget the name of this director.
John Watts.
John Watts. I feel like he understands like high school kids in a way that is reserved typically only for like John Hughes.
I agree. This doesn't feel like, I mean, typically when we have a high school movie, we have a lot of like 21, 22,
Yeah.
25-year-olds playing high schoolers. The thing
And we
that,
still do.
They are that, but it doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like they're written like high schoolers. They're not written like adults.
But they're written like high schoolers, but not in the way that people cheapen high schoolers to be nothing.
It's a respectful writing of these characters as teenagers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're fully fleshed out people with moral compasses and values who at the same time often falter because they're just going, but I want to do this thing instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
and
great.
What the great thing about that too, and so much of it can go back to Stan Lee, obviously, but in this movie, because I always try and think of like demographically, what kind of money are you trying to make with this move?
All of it, I think, for this one.
You know, but like with having them as high schoolers and like showing what feels like a more genuine, thoughtful portrayal of high schoolers, doesn't feel like a money grab. It's what Stan Lee just wanted. He wanted high schoolers to enjoy. Like he wanted you as the kid, as the comic book main demographic, to have, like Doge said, someone to relate to.
Yeah.
And it continues. And I'm glad they held on to that.
This was the first Marvel movie without a Stan Lee cameo. Did you guys notice that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That is
Sorry,
tough. The
that's a
23rd
big bummer halfway
installment.
through the episode.
Yeah.
They had that cool him and Jack Kirby like signature thing at the end, which was cool.
Yeah.
I hope they do that more with other stuff.
It was Steve Ditko. Him and Steve
Ditko, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But that was awesome. I really liked that a lot.
Yeah.
I do want to get to
let's
in
move to the
Venice.
plot.
The elemental comes and Mysterio rides in to save the day.
Congrats, MCU. You got basically the whole cast of Zodiac in the MCU now.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's true.
Ruffalo, Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
Top 3. Isn't that funny?
Yep.
But they're all here.
That's awesome. So Jake Gyllenhaal's my super pump. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
No surprise there probably for anybody. I love him.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because in the first half of this movie, I was like, is he phoning it in right now?
Right?
Yeah.
But, man.
He spends this whole time as this cheesy, like, I can save you. Don't worry, little kid. I'm here for you. Like this whole thing. And I was just like, whoa, like that's...
It felt like he was phoning it in, but it also felt like believably sweet. You know what I mean?
It
There's
did.
an element of it that felt like I don't know, when I first thought I was a little disappointed. But then as I watched it more, I was like, maybe he really is just playing this like really sweet guy.
It tricked me into not believing something I knew to be true about the character Mysterio. There was a moment.
That's so good.
There was a moment where I was like, maybe he's not. They're not going to go that route with the character, and then they super did, and it was amazing. In Venice, we get this whole thing, but I want to talk about Mysterio for just a second, just as a character. There's a part later that was the moment that I decided that him as a character. But I think that, for me, Mysterio, so Quentin Beck, the Vulture, Baron Zemo, Thanos, and maybe Justin Hammer.
Sam Rockwell.
Top 5 villains in the entire MCU for me.
Loki doesn't scratch that?
I don't consider him a true villain.
Okay.
He would honestly probably be my number 1 if I were to consider him a villain, but I don't consider him a true villain. I would call him an anti-hero.
Okay.
More than anything else.
That's good.
Those 5 people, and 2 of them are Spider-Man specific.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. He just has the best villains.
Yeah, we were talking about that beforehand. I think it's a conversation the 3 of us have had before. Spider-Man villains are to the MCU what Batman villains are to the DCU. There's just a lot of really good ones.
Oh my goodness. It's a bottomless pit with Spider-Man.
Yeah. Did you know that Tom Holland had wanted Kraven to be the villain? Like, and have Jason Momoa play Kraven in this movie.
So
That's interesting.
Based on the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene of this movie, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kraven pop up pretty soon.
I think it's going to be Scorpion in the next one, but we'll talk about that when we get to the end.
We'll get there. But here in Venice, we see Mysterio fight the Elemental. We see him save the day. Nick Fury finally gets through to Peter, brings him in. Peter says, I'm out, no thanks. Quentin's like, yeah, I respect your decision. Except for that S.H.I.E.L.D. does not respect not S.H.I.E.L.D. Fury doesn't respect the decision. Hijacks Peter's science field trip and takes him to a little cabin, shack, gas station rest stop.
Yeah.
Where Peter is led into a room with a blonde woman who I really thought was Gwyneth Paltrow for a second.
I did too. I thought she was going to be standing there.
I thought she was going to have Morgan.
Yeah.
And be like, somebody wanted to see you. and I was preparing my heart to break.
Yeah.
cute.
I
If he
know.
runs up and calls him like Uncle Peter or
Yeah,
something.
I was preparing
would've
my heart
cried.
to
That would
shatter.
be their ploy to say, hey, you need to be the next Iron Man.
Exactly.
Right.
I see it.
Yeah.
But instead we get the basically the noir suit. It's not, but it's
Yeah,
basically the noir suit.
basically.
It's the stealth suit. And the worst subplot in this whole movie at the same time, which is Brad taking the picture and being like, "Oh, dude, are you with some lady in this
Yeah.
bathroom?" Like
That was weird.
It felt contrived to me. And I also didn't love that Peter almost killed him with a drone strike.
Yeah.
It was almost my super dump for this movie.
Yeah.
That Peter, being as smart as he is, was almost dumb enough to kill his classmate
Yeah.
because he had a picture of him that he could easily explain what was happening.
Yeah. That's funny. And we haven't, so because we're here, we don't have to talk about everything that happens on the plane, but one of my favorite
Plane?
plot, the airplane, when they get
Yeah, when
to,
they fly over.
one of my favorite plot lines in this subplots is the relationship that was formed on the airplane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you now.
That had me giggling every
Ned
time
and
it was
Betty?
referenced or
Nettie?
anytime the two of them
Bed.
were together. Because it was just kind of
So
like,
good.
he's the one pulling for we're single high school dudes going to Europe.
We're American bachelors. and
American
you're-
bachelors.
so
in
Two
Europe.
funny.
seconds later, he's calling her babe. That was my favorite part because
Dude, that was
every
great.
high school relationship is that. Babe,
Yes.
what do you think, babe?
100%. But I just wanted to make sure we referenced that.
Oh,
I
it's so
did
good.
very much enjoy it.
I loved Peter, like getting the Edith glasses and kind of exploring
What was
that.
it? Even dead, I'm the hero.
Yeah, which is great.
So Tony.
How does he hear Edith?
I would assume it's like those sunglasses that vibrate the bones. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I would assume
There's
something
no
like that.
earpiece with it. I was just noticing that. Like,
I would
oh.
assume it's something like that.
That's tough. Yeah.
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 So it's pretty unwatchable for me. I'm going to give it a forget it because I just
Yeah.
don't
With
understand
Tony
that.
Stark, it's just like, and it's Marvel. So I'm like, I guess they can do whatever.
So
Yeah.
I want to get to a specific midway point, and so we need to push on there before we go to our special shout out place. So let's keep pushing for just a minute because we end up in it's not London.
London's the finale. That we're in Prague right now.
Yeah.
Prague?
It
Yeah,
got-
with the Ferris wheel and the fire and
Right.
all that
Prague,
stuff.
Prague, right?
wasn't even going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
It was supposed to be Paris.
Yeah.
And so that's where I keep saying Shield. That's where Fury redirects.
Yep.
And Peter bails on everybody, going to the opera, and we get this is the perfect example of the same thing with the house party in Homecoming.
Yeah.
Of like this is Spider-Man responsibility versus Peter's dream
yeah.
at the opera. Of MJ finally says, "Do you want to? I'll save you a seat. Do you want to sit next to me and share some glasses?"
That felt so classic, like mid 70s Steve Ditko Spider-Man. I think this movie nails that tone in a way that we haven't seen it. I think even Homecoming didn't succeed to the degree that this does.
Sure, but do you get what I'm saying about the party? How it was that
Yeah.
we saw him on the roof practicing what he was going to say, and then he realized, no, I have to go do this instead.
Yeah.
It felt the same in a way here of like, I could just stay.
Yeah.
I could just not put the suit on. I could just stay. But he goes and he does the right thing.
Yeah.
Which my counselor would tell you is why I love the character, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
But we get a really awesome fight and our first hint that something's not right here when Peter pulls a piece of the drone out of the sky
Yep.
on accident.
Yeah.
And it clatters to the ground,
Clatter, clatter.
clatter, clatter. And then the night monkey is born,
The night
was
monkey.
so great.
which
That
is one of my favorite running jokes
That's so funny.
from the movie. And Quentin takes Peter to a little bar to like kind of decompress. Hey, I like this girl, all this stuff. And Peter then misinterprets Tony's message as find the next Tony. And
For the next Tony Stark, I trust you.
Right.
Yeah.
he gives Quentin the glasses and
Which
says,
I think it felt like it was this Venn diagram of the stress of a relationship and trying to define that and if she likes me or not, that he just went in and brought the uncertainty and anxiousness from it and did that with his fate.
yeah,
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, like when you pick up a wrong signal.
yeah,
It's like,
Yep.
okay, she hates me.
right.
I'm not gonna ask her out anymore.
Yep.
It's like,
Right.
oh, I'm not the Iron Man. You are. Oh, what a relief to
Makes
move
sense.
past
Yeah,
this.
and it's like, oh, now I'm done. Okay,
and then
great.
you realize, crap.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so he gives the glasses, which I hate that I knew was a bad move, but
Yeah.
you're supposed to, you know.
Yeah.
And then when he leaves, we get Jake's best scene of the movie as like a solo performer, which is
Yeah.
his transformation from Quentin Beck, the friendly superhero, to Quentin Beck the mastermind and the director.
So I knew and hoped that this was coming.
Yeah.
And I think you probably felt the same. Carter, was this a surprise? Having somebody who did not have the background in
No, because y'all
Mysterio?
talked about it.
Oh, we ruined it for you.
Yeah, we did.
Good.
We did ruin it for him.
Perfect.
But even it was better than even I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, me too.
I knew Mysterio was
switch.
like magician vibes and a hoax.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that much
Okay.
about his character. So I figured.
The drones are brilliant. I've never seen it done that way before.
Yeah, the drones were a good touch.
I consider this the dead middle of this movie, which means it's going to be the dead middle of this podcast, which means it's time to go somewhere. And that place is a shout announcements. You're listening to Shout Announcements, the part of the show where we give shout outs and make
It's a
announcements.
pilot that got scared
Yeah.
really quick.
Surprising turbulence.
Oh, if you guys could keep your seats buckled and your trays back in the full. Anyway, that's all the pilot speak I know. Hey, I want to give a huge shout out, not only to Tyler Station, because we're there, but also to Crumb and Kettle.
Yep.
We're sipping on their coffee, and we've now all actually.
I just ate my long promised cinnamon roll. I inhaled it in genuinely about 40 seconds.
Yeah,
It was surprisingly fast.
Truly
Yeah,
magnificent.
some big bites.
It was like a zoo
Big bites for a big good taste.
for big good taste. So
Big good taste.
Those are our big shout outs. Thanks, guys.
This October, we're turning 2.
Yay.
We want
And
you
we're
to,
going to be terrible.
we're going to start making really bad, loud, annoying episodes.
And we're
It's
going to say
be
no to
it's gonna be our
everything.
terrible
We're
twos.
going to throw our food on the floor.
We want your help celebrating. And we need you to send in your connections to a famous.
Yep.
We've gotten several so far, and they are very good.
It's good. I'm excited.
I'm really excited. But basically, the way this is going to work is we're going to talk to the most famous person that we collectively, as the Two Chunks community, know. And we're going to talk to them about movies because famous or unfamous, that's something everybody can enjoy.
Yep.
So whether this person is groomer of the year of your local PetSmart, or whether it is, once again, president of the entire world, John Stamos himself,
Stamos.
we're going to talk with them about movies, and it's going to be real fun.
Speaking of famous, probably our most famous friend, Jesse Awuji.
Jesse.
Who represents everything good and great in this podcast and in our lives.
And in the world.
He
Yeah.
was birthed from the Fast and Furious franchise, which to this day has been
Not literally.
Not literally.
one of the no.
He existed prior.
When we covered it, it was like one of the most meaningful things I've ever done. And we'll be back doing
We
some
will
of that in a couple of weeks.
Oh, boy.
But shout out to Jesse. So he's on the NBC Sports Network today, July 5th.
That's
so
true.
Yeah.
he's helping to cover the Daytona International Speedway, the coverage for NASCAR right now. So he got his first TV gig.
It was just
So,
awesome.
which
Jesse,
makes
congrats. That's
total
awesome.
sense because as we were getting to know him better and kind of follow him, he does have a great personality.
Yeah.
He checks all the boxes, guys. But Jesse's out there doing that. So Jesse, we're happy for you today.
Yeah.
We hope you do well.
And I want to be clear, we don't know him personally, but man, it feels like we do.
I mean, he's our only outside of us introduction to Two Chunks
That's
on
true,
this podcast.
yeah.
He actually did it
So we
for
basically know him.
Fate of the Furious.
But he
So-
really is. I mean, there's not a better guy that this could have happened to getting a gig like that.
No,
Yeah, for
He's
real.
so deserving. He's the
no,
best.
no. Yeah. And don't forget, if you love Jesse and if you love us, rate and review.
Please.
The podcast.
Please. We're so close. And
We're real close.
next week, speaking of not forgetting, we're watching Hitch.
We're back in the
Hitch!
summer of love, baby.
Back in the saddle again for Hitch.
Excited
We're
for
getting
that.
hitched. I don't know how other to say it. Please
Swish, 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 hitch.
Swish, swish, hitch. It's going to be great, guys.
Yeah.
Check it out. Is that
That's it.
in the distance? Is that the show?
There it is.
Let's go catch up. And we're back. And we're back in the bar as well.
We are back in the bar. I love this scene
It's so good.
much. The way that they bring back, I will say the actual, I like the idea of bringing back the guy that Jeff Bridges yelled at about boxer scraps.
Right.
And I like the idea of bringing back.
Who is Ralphie from A Christmas Story, by the way?
No way.
Yep.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yep. Put him in a pink bunny suit.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
Ralphie.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow. I like the idea of bringing back him and making Quentin Beck somebody who has been involved with Tony in the past.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed a hard cut to the exact scene from that movie.
Yeah, that felt a little
The
weird.
execution of that was really, really wonky for
It
me.
felt Oceans,
Yeah,
when you're going through and
and
you're
that's
going to be the one
something-
who does this.
Yeah.
that's
from
something
that.
this movie never does. That's something Marvel never really does in terms of like that kind of vibe. It just felt
Yeah,
really,
it just
really.
didn't hit, and that
But to be
shows
fair,
you.
the only other option to clarify who it was to have him be like, now who built something with a box of scraps?
That's fair.
Right, yeah.
That's fair.
Because we're not going to be like, oh, yeah, it's that one guy.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be the exact guy that he yelled at.
And
Though.
which was,
Yeah.
Like
do
it
you
could-
want to do that yell for us? I mean, we've got a Jeff Bridges impersonator
Yeah, why
in
don't
the
you
room
go ahead,
right
why
now.
don't you go ahead and give us a little taste of that?
Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It gets better.
It does.
That one felt better.
It's marbly.
That
It
one
really
felt
does sound
better.
like you've got just a bunch of nuts stored for the winter in your cheeks while you're saying that.
Yeah, it's somewhere between Pete Wentz from Fallout Boy and a big cough.
I think that
Also a scene from My Fair Lady.
he doesn't need to be that exact guy though. Like if Mysterio, if he's like, man, I recruited you guys. You were languishing away, doing nothing, working to replicate Iron Man tech for Obadiah
Working for
Stane.
Obadiah Stane, yeah.
You were this, and that we still check those boxes, and we don't have to do these awkward cuts back to scenes. Like it almost felt like Marvel was sitting next to me in the theater, elbowing me in the ribs. Like, remember our other ones? You remember this movie?
Yeah.
You remember this movie?
Yeah, I
And
could see that.
The Vulture's character was kind of like that too, wasn't he? I mean, he's just basically picking up the actual scraps of
Yeah.
what the Avengers are leaving behind.
But we
So-
didn't cut back to the Battle of
We
New
didn't.
York and see Michael Keaton just like looking up
Yeah.
as a Leviathan like worms overhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it felt strangely textual rather than subtextual.
Exactly. Yeah.
In a way that hasn't really been done before.
Not a super dump, just a little place where it's like, oh, that's awkward.
Yeah, I do love that the theme so far seems to be Spider-Man's villains are people who are attempting to rise from the ashes of what the other Avengers have done.
Yeah.
And are lumping Spider-Man in with the destruction of the other Avengers.
They're very much a
For one
villain
reason or
that is
another.
the result of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Love it.
And so something else that we get in this bar scene, which is super characterizing, is the ability to kind of turn it on and off so quickly from Quentin Beck. The show that he is, really kind of sociopathic in his like
Yeah, that's the difference.
heroic versus like the real Quentin Beck who is meticulous and like
Yep.
scheming and intelligent. I mean, and we get why earlier he says never apologize for being the smartest one in the room because he sees himself in that moment,
Yeah.
being put down.
Well, and also too, it has kind of the recklessness of some of the greatest villains ever in terms of, I mean, if I want to reach my goal, people will die. They'll have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
They'll have to, but that's not,
Yeah.
it
very
barely
much-
even,
Very much Syndrome from The Incredibles.
yeah,
Like it's that same kind of vibe.
that's a good call.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That's
So
great.
from the bar we get is this when we move on to
Yeah, because he defeats what is supposed to be the last elemental here.
right.
Fire Elemental.
Yeah.
Right. And then we move on to is it London next? I guess.
Yeah.
Is it London next?
it London?
Is it London next,
Are
I
we off
guess?
to London now?
But it is though, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You know, if they had filmed this scene just but like a year earlier out there by the London Bridge, the Tower Bridge would have been a massive statue of Jeff Goldblum. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah,
no.
him lounging from Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was there for over a year.
Wow.
Like a traveling sculpture. And
Where is
when,
it now?
When I went to
In my
Oxford
house.
and when I went to London,
To hang out with your friend Ridley.
I had missed it by 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
I almost got to see that, and I would have thought it was from heaven, the Lord's hand, just put it there
Just
for
put Jeff Goldblum down.
specifically me.
That's so
Wow.
good.
Because I love quirk, and Jeff Goldblum has to be the quirkiest,
Yeah.
the most saturated,
Him and Bill
molecule
Murray.
for molecule, quirkiest person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
But anyways, moving on.
That's great.
What if they had built something around that? Like there's a fight on Jeff Goldblum lounging out in
But they
line.
have to be like, is this
Is this the Grand Master?
the Grandmaster from
Oh, that's right. He's in the MCU.
It's like, why is he? That
Yeah.
would be funny, actually.
Yes, I love it.
Oh,
So
and at
we're-
the end, we see it on Ragnarok because the Grandmaster found out it was there and has it in his house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be great. So we're in London now, right? Do we want to talk about Peter and MJ at this point?
Yeah,
Is
sure.
the next thing?
Yeah.
I love their relationship
I
in
love
this.
it.
I do too.
I pump it.
I buy it 100%. I wish it doesn't necessarily feel lazy to me, but it does feel like he's Peter and she's MJ, so of course they're gonna like each other. You know what I mean? We don't get a whole lot of reason why.
So
Like
I
we did in
hear the
Homecoming.
reverse. For me, it feels like he's Peter and they like each other. So of course she's MJ is the difference that I feel.
Mary Jane in the comics has traditionally not had much. This could be spicy. Not much going on outside of being in love with Peter and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I like that she is a character with personality and quirk. I think is a great word. She is beyond. She is beyond just like the girl next door that
She's kind of morbid.
She is kind of morbid.
Yeah, it's really funny,
and she contrasts really well to Peter's spunkiness.
But we never see them fall in like with each other. You know what I mean?
no,
Like they
that's true.
just start the movie secretly liking each other.
I think she starts to like him in Homecoming with the
think so, too.
mathlete stuff.
Really?
Because she's just there in the background. She's like the is it Eponine in Les Mis
Yeah.
that loves one of our main protagonists, but she knows
From
she
a
can't
distance.
have him. Yeah, so it kind of feels like that. But she's just so. It might be she's so deadpan as a character that it's hard to pick up on. And
Yeah.
we are already because we don't even know she's technically MJ till the end of that movie, right?
Yeah.
because she says,
because she's yeah. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I think there's just
There's
I don't
another
know.
building block that could have been there for you.
Yeah.
for sure.
That makes sense. I do love that she basically guesses because we have watched her be so observant.
Yes.
It makes sense. It falls in line
Yeah.
with what we know about
And
her.
it's not as much that she thought, like she's got an eye on him because she likes him.
right.
Not as much because, like, she notices that he's not there because she's very interested. I love it.
Yeah. But then that whole thing was very high school. Like, is that the only reason you were watching me? He's like, oh, yeah, totally. That's the only reason. That was so high school.
Yeah.
But this is when we find the piece of the projector and we realize, oh, no, Quentin Beck's a liar. This isn't good. And Peter sends Ned and MJ off together to protect one another,
Yep.
dons the stealth suit, and heads out in search of, I guess, Fury, right?
Yeah.
That's how we end up.
He's trying to go tell Fury about Mysterio.
The next 5 minutes of this movie are perfect.
I agree.
This is the moment that if I had to pick a moment instead of my previous super pump, this would be my super pump, is this scene. Peter ends up in the car with Fury, and then it is just 5 minutes of what's real, what's not real, what is up, what is down.
Yeah.
As Mysterio, straight out of the animated series from the 90s, straight out of the PS2 Spider-Man game, and straight out of my heart, absolutely destroys Peter's mind with illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good.
You really see the full power of what he's capable of doing. The multiple Spider-Men coming after him,
Yep.
jumping off of what looks to be the top of a building and landing about 2 feet down head first into the concrete.
oh,
Yep.
man, it's so good.
Stuck in the snow globe that becomes the helmet, that becomes multiple helmet. Like, it is just incredible.
This is
so good.
amazing. My super dump is in this sequence.
Really.
Yeah. When it involves the skeletal Iron Man, when Peter's at the gravestone. It's a super dump of a missed opportunity, I think, because as somebody who's a huge fan of the character, that should be Ben Parker's grave. If we're trying to play the guilt card on Spider-Man, the guilt is not Tony saved the world and you didn't.
Right.
The guilt is you didn't save your uncle when you could have. And I get that
We haven't
Tony
had that.
Tony is taking on the Uncle Ben role in this. And I didn't love that in Homecoming, and I really don't like it in this because that doesn't work. That's not a motivator because Spider-Man is not directly responsible. So
Right.
it's easy to look at that and say you shouldn't feel guilt over that. But part of what defines the character is that you can look at that in the comics and say you should feel guilty about that.
you kind of messed up there. Yeah.
The death of Ben Parker in the comics shows Peter why he has to be Spider-Man. The death of Gwen shows him what it's going to cost to keep being Spider-Man and that he has to pay that cost. And without those, you can't play the guilt thing with Peter. It doesn't work unless you really set those foundations up. And so this moment didn't work for me. He has no reason to feel guilty over Tony's death.
Yeah, I didn't see it as feeling guilty over Tony's death, but more guilt over letting down Tony's legacy. That's how I interpreted it.
Mysterio directly tries to play to Tony's death, though. He says, if you were better, you could have saved him.
Yeah.
So
Right,
I
and
wonder if
It's too easy for Peter to go, no, I couldn't have.
in the cartoon does Mysterio do that with Ben? Is there ever
think so.
So
yeah,
it could
not
be
that
that
I'm
like
familiar
the
with.
illusions, and I agree with this because you wouldn't have to go so meta to try and figure out like if Marvel was actually being smarter than we think.
Yeah.
But like, how would he even know about his uncle? Like the big news
Mysterio?
is that Iron Man died.
Right.
So it's like
because it's not in
he
his
can't
head,
create
it's-
something he doesn't even know about.
I
He
guess
can't
that's true.
fabricate the fact that Ben existed.
That's fair.
But
for
I totally get that.
I just feel like you can't show Spider-Man kneeling at a tombstone feeling guilty and have
And
that
it
be
not be
anybody
Uncle Ben.
other than Ben
well,
Parker
it's
or Gwen
almost like
Stacy.
so it's not as big of a deal as if Christopher Nolan just never talked about the fact that Bruce Wayne's parents were killed,
yeah.
and that's kind of what made him like drove him into just like being pretty dark and like
Right.
Yeah.
lonely and off to himself. But it does feel like a brush over a little bit because all we even get in this movie that even references him is
The initials
the
in the suitcase.
suitcase.
This is Ben's old suitcase.
yeah.
Yeah.
I get that, dude. That's good.
Yeah. No, that's interesting.
So my super pump, this was probably the best time to do it because
Sure.
this was the peak of it. My super pump is the special effects.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're very
This
good.
plot relied so
Outrageous.
heavily on it. And it's not like I didn't think Marvel could do special effects well. I mean, we just saw a war in Endgame
Yeah.
that involved probably over 1,000 different beings.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
nothing,
On screen,
nothing there was actually real.
Right.
Yeah.
Never seen anything like that in my life, but this, it just felt like a point within a point. Because it was like, I told Jordan after, I was like, the special effects team, the visual effects team played the role of Mysterio. They were Mysterio for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because things that would happen, like when we would get a camera that was seemed to be mounted on a drone following Spider-Man through,
Yeah.
swinging through the tower bridge, I assume that was real. There's a moment in my life, in like a fraction of a second, that I was like, that's pretty cool that they were able to strap it to that drone and follow Spider-Man. Wait, and then I'm like, wait a second, none of it exists.
Yeah.
None of what is happening right now exists. And for them to have to be so creative we get kind of half of these elementals for a while, and then now we're inside the elementals.
Oh, that was so
yeah.
awesome.
This was just unbelievable.
It really was. I've never seen anything like it.
Unbelievable. And it had to be. Like, it had to be realistic because they have to be able to fool everyone. Like, it's funny how many roles we play as the Watcher. Like, we are Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And then for a while, we're Mysterio. And then for a while, we're just a drone. Like, we're being fooled just like everyone in the movie is fooled. So it created such an immersive experience. That's different than, I remember the first time I saw Transformers in theaters, I was like, wow, that's a lot of moving pieces. Like, Transformers blew my mind in terms of CGI and special effects. But it hadn't really, outside of that, it was like, I know this is fake.
Yeah.
But they did something in this one that for some reason,
It like blurred
it
that
made
line
me
a lot.
think Mysterio could be a thing.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
someone could actually be a Mysterio.
Yeah.
And it was so brilliant, too, that they made him techie. Like, he was more of an Iron Man Scarecrow hybrid than an actual magician like
Right.
Doctor Strange.
Right.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't hold any power outside of being the smartest person in the room.
Right. And his whole like scene of being the director as they're directing the combat sequence for the new elemental
Brilliant.
was so good. His
Rewind,
like, no, rewind it, go back, like double the attack power. Let's do that. Like he
But
was
they're
a
doing
director.
so many little things that I don't even know. I can't even wrap my mind around how long it took.
I know. I
It's
know.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I could not believe it.
It's so good.
And you're integrating it with things that are real, that everyone's familiar with. These are all popular spots in the world. But you're throwing all of this into something and destroying things that exist, but you're not actually destroying them. I don't know. I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I was like, this blows my mind.
It's
It was
unbelievable.
great.
So at the end of this sequence, Peter gets hit by a train in what might be the most shocking moment of any MCU movie for me.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh my goodness.
But
like,
luckily on the other side of the train is Captain America.
yeah. He's just like, oh, was I late?
But
Was I
he's
late?
just very old.
I got you, Peter.
Oh, I missed it. Like, he's not even there to save anybody.
So Peter ends up in the Netherlands, which is maybe the funniest
I
joke in
love
the
this.
entire movie.
I didn't even realize. I want to get to know that culture more because it's like they're making them the Canada of Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
They're all
absolutely
so
loved
nice.
it. Everybody's just like, yeah, take the phone. Like,
Yeah.
so good.
They closed the cell door that he opens
Yes.
Yeah.
to stay in prison.
I love the scene whenever Happy gets out of the plane and Peter's like skittish and scared because he still doesn't know what's real.
Yeah,
The way Tom Holland plays that is so good.
it's great. The plane I want to talk about
yeah.
when we go up. It was
so good.
so good. Some of the best performance from good grief,
Jon Favreau.
Thank you. Some of the best Jon Favreau performance of the MCU. I think is
he's
here.
good in this.
Tom Holland is just the tears in his eyes as he is
Yeah,
like
he's a good cry boy.
Oh,
He's
my
amazing.
goodness.
He's really great.
He really is. And then when he finally is like, okay, so what are you going to do? Like, I don't mean later. I mean, right now, what are you going to do? And he stands up and he walks to the back and he starts to remake the suit. And it's so Tony. So I'm conflicted about this moment and I want to explain.
Okay.
I love this. I loved the AC/DC and I love him with his arm in.
That he thought was
Yeah,
Led
the Led
I
Zeppelin. I
love
love
Led
Led
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin. Yeah.
Thor
it was,
reference.
It was just such a good, like, you can be the next Tony. But here's my super dump. I really wanted him to not be the next Tony, but to be the first Spider-Man. And I know
Yes.
that's what he is. And I,
I
know
think
that's
there's
what they're
still
doing.
room for that, but
No,
yeah.
there totally is. And I think that's what they're doing. And I think that's even sort of the subtext.
Yep.
I just wish it had been a little less overtly like, you're Tony 2.0. And like, I think it's okay to say you're Tony 2.0 as long as we remember that means you're better than Tony.
It felt too much like it was like anytime the MCU has left the MCU to appeal to what feels like I talked about earlier, like making money. I don't know. It was just like, hey, it's okay. We're going to be okay.
Yeah.
There's a new Iron Man.
Yeah.
That felt more
Yeah.
like it was for me as just a
I agree. And
movie watcher than it was for the story.
This was almost my super dump because I don't love that. Like this, he's not Dick Grayson being Nightwing and then being Batman and then being Nightwing.
He's
again.
not graduating up to
He's
Iron
not
Man.
graduating. He wasn't ever Iron Man's sidekick.
Well, it's
He
not like
wasn't
Falcon being
ever. Yeah.
Captain
Right.
America.
He is Spider-Man the end.
Valkyrie
Right.
being Thor or whatever.
Yeah.
I love this moment because of what it means to Peter as a character, but I do wish that there had been more of an emphasis on don't be Tony, be better than Tony.
Yeah.
There kind of was in the plane.
I agree.
okay.
I agree. I think I mean more like lessons learned versus actual. I don't know how to explain it. It just left me. It's not even that bad, and this movie's so
Yeah.
good. It was hard to pick.
yeah.
But for real, like the reason it's my super dump is just because like it was a little. I don't want to say on the nose, but it was just a little too like give me
Yeah.
less overt.
I think it would have been, we could have, and this may have besmirched Tony's legacy, I guess, but if there was something where it's like, hey, you can have this when you're ready, give it a couple of years. You know what I mean? And he had to.
That
he
was
had
the
to-
Iron Man Spider-Man suit though, right? He turned it down at the end.
Right. I think there needs to
Okay.
be something in this if he's not, because I don't think that he should be the next Iron Man.
No.
And I don't think the movie wants us to think he should be the next Iron
no,
Man.
Happy blatantly says
Yeah.
you can't be him. You'll
Right.
never be
Nobody
him.
could be Tony.
But it needs to be more clear in that he's overcoming Tony's shortcomings in some way.
Yeah.
Like if Tony underestimated him and it's like, you can have Edith when you turn 21. And Peter's
Sure.
like, no, I'm ready now. I'm Spider-Man now. I'm not going to be Spider-Man one day. I'm Spider-Man today.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and ultimately, I think why I still am able to really love this moment is because like I think I'm able to like pretend my way into being like it's paying tribute to Tony, but he's still better. But I just wish there had been more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I want to kind of burn through this ending because it's so good. But I do want to touch at least a little bit on the post-credit scene. So let's go to this kind of ending fight.
Yep.
It's my super pump.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels like a video
I mean,
game.
and it's in a way mine. I mean, it was just like, that was another point where I was like, no, yeah, this is. Because I don't know why I have felt sometimes like special effects was kind of a cheap thing to really like.
Right.
It just felt like it's like you've waved something really pretty in front of me. I'm like, that's my favorite one.
For me, the super pump comes when the Peter tingle.
Oh, close your
That's my
eyes.
favorite. When he this is a 3-beat of the Mysterio illusions because we established that they're real and he can't tell what's going on when he fights the elementals. We reinforce that once he's caught onto Mysterio and he still can't tell what's real. And then for the third and final movement of the 3-beat, we subvert that and we say he can tell what's real because he doesn't need to use his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. This is
And the
so,
way-
so good.
Yes.
How many times did it take them to like create that scene or storyboard that scene and be like, yeah, this will make sense to the audience? Like, I knew it was happening. Happening. And they just delivered it in a way.
Well, thank goodness the suit's eyes can close because
Yeah.
it let us see in that moment.
I mean,
that's what's happening.
if this was a Tobey Maguire or
They would
Andrew
have
Garfield one,
unmasked
they
him.
would have ripped his mask
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad that they didn't do. But like,
Yeah.
I was reading something. I think it was on Reddit, but I was reading something where somebody said, "Imagine being Quentin Beck standing at the end of that hallway, and this kid that you know for a fact is 16, just closed his eyes
Yep.
to punch all of your drones to get to you and just uppercut you to death.
Yeah.
At the end of this hallway, like so impressive.
So amazing. And then do you want to talk? I mean, it's your super pump. Do you want to talk about essentially how it ends? The
Oh
fight?
yeah, I love when he Mysterio is dying. You guys didn't see me do this as a podcast. There's air quotes around dying on the ground. And Peter, right before the gun fires, catches it and pushes it up.
That's peak Spider-Man.
Amazing.
That's peak Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm getting
Goose pimples.
some Carter tingle right now.
Yeah.
From you saying that. It was so cool.
And I love that Peter is angry and he also looks like he's genuinely hurt.
And
He's
sad for Quentin.
You are done. You're done lying to me. That was so good.
Powerful.
Yeah. So good. Do you guys think that Mysterio's really dead?
I don't know. I hope not.
I don't want him to be.
I also don't want him to be.
But Edith said he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he never transferred control. I do know that she made a point that the owner has to transfer control verbally, and he was dead, so he couldn't do that.
Okay. I wonder if there's a biometric scanner thing for Peter, though.
Well, I'm sure that Peter maintains ultimate authority over it no matter what, but that's just something I noticed. I'm not saying it means anything.
Yeah.
And again, the fact that we're talking about this has happened to us with another Marvel movie. Good job, Marvel. We're talking about, they've done enough to us already that we're like, could be.
Could be.
They've been smart enough to put little Easter eggs in there.
It's true.
So
Peter goes home.
I do want to briefly touch on what might be the coolest Spider-Man shot in a movie, which is him with the shield and the drone on the end of a web like a flail. That was just very cool. And I think that was a reference to
100%
to Cap and the Hammer in Endgame.
Well, I think that was Marvel's way of saying he's kind of both, guys.
Yeah.
He's kind of both a little bit.
Yeah. I do pump the scene of MJ and them and just on this burning bridge. Like that's great. What's attractive to her. And like that's the life that she's cool to live.
Yeah.
And she's making a joke about it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good really like joking about like things that were going on.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we realize this is ridiculous.
In a good way too. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean if there was that much jarring stuff in the world that people wouldn't still make jokes about it.
Sure.
Right? So that's an interesting concept.
And so Peter goes home. Peter catches up with Aunt May. He has no stuff because it all blew up, which was a very funny line. Oh, Ned and Betty break up. No more Nettie.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah, so good. And they're both so mature about it. Like, we'll always have the memories. You know, it's just a time and place for certain people. I love Ned.
The final swing in this movie.
Is it making fun of the mannequin swing from, is it Spider-Man 2?
I don't think that it is. I think at least for me, this is played totally earnestly because it
looked really bad.
We've not had a final swing in the MCU.
Yeah.
Because that's something that every Spider-Man movie up until Homecoming did. And Homecoming actually caught a lot of flack for not having him swinging through Manhattan ever.
Yeah.
I loved that in this one.
Yeah.
This was great.
Yeah. But the close-up on MJ over his shoulder did not look great to me. And it reminded me of the Spider-Man mannequin swing from 2 where he is
Spider-Man
clearly...
1.
Is it 1?
Yeah. And MJ's hair is blowing the wrong direction as they're swinging.
And he is clearly like a store mannequin just standing completely still with no movement.
This worked a lot better for me than that. I think this looked better than that.
Me too, but it did not look great to me.
My super dump is in here. Okay. And I don't know what it is. I know what it is. I just don't know where it's coming from and why I was so irritated by it. I think one of my biggest flaws in life is there are things that irritate me that don't irritate anybody else. And when you look at it, I look like a big jerk. I don't understand. Yes, we recognize that we live in a world that has other superheroes and we see these superheroes a lot more. Why does nobody really react to this dude swinging through a big city? That irritated me. And it's my super dump. And I know that feels so cheap. Yeah. But I was like, of all the things, like, why are we, I don't know. We're just okay with it?
Well, particularly with what's coming next in the post-credit.
Yeah, I think nobody's going to be okay with it.
But I think it would have been cool to have people like, yeah, Spider-Man, as he swings like going crazy.
I thought the same
and
thing.
Then 2 seconds later, we get, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? That would be cool.
It just felt like a bunch of, it was so bad. I thought we were about to get a peek at Mysterio being alive. I thought everything that was happening was an illusion.
Oh,
I thought he was swinging through something and no one around was even alive.
Oh, that would have been wild.
And so I was like, oh, that's totally what's going to happen. And they didn't address it. And I was like, oh, I'm just a jerk. Like, why did this bother me so much? But it ended up, I couldn't not think about it. So that was my super dump.
That is funny. I hear you. So we go to the credits, and then we get maybe one of the most consequential mid-credit scenes of the MCU.
Yeah, the post-credit scenes in this are big deal time.
huge. And so we get, first of all, JK's back.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yellow Eminem himself.
Love JK Simmons.
Yes.
The only time that's ever been done.
Yeah.
A pre-MCU Marvel character that's actually been brought into the MCU as the same character.
And I
So-
think it's because that is literally perfect casting.
Yes.
It's
Nobody else
untouchable.
could do that.
But they have made him this like out of his mind, crazy Alex Jones, like
Rush Limbaugh.
kind of
Yeah.
like I host an internet show where I just rant like a madman and people buy into it and I'm crazy.
That is
like,
perfect.
Stephen A.
is-
Smith for my sports fans out there.
that is the new world's version of an angry newspaper editor.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
do it.
the
I'm
best way to
fine.
do it.
It's
is
supposed
perfect.
to feel like the MCU is just next door to us,
Yeah.
to our current
Yeah.
state.
And then we get the wildest thing, which is, so this is the only reason I think that maybe Quentin Beck could be alive is when did he record himself saying that stuff?
Yeah.
Unless he recorded it afterwards and they edited it in together. Because how could he have planned for that? Unless that's all special effects from Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Plus, Mysterio also feels like Mysterio as a character could still be around, but maybe not Quentin Beck. Right?
maybe.
Could you have someone else at the reins?
With
I mean,
the way they set it
theoretically,
up,
yeah.
you definitely could.
Okay.
I feel like it would be weird for me, but that's just because I like Jake.
Be Jake Gyllenhaal.
Spider-Man's identity is revealed to the whole world, and I hate it.
Yep.
Which means it's probably a good move,
I love it.
but I hope that it's reversible
Well,
because
it also feels like I mean, if he is the next Spider-Man, that was a real pivotal thing in the next Iron Man.
Yeah.
That was a big thing in Iron Man. He says,
Oh,
"I am Iron Man." So
for
Tony
sure,
Stark is
but I just
revealed
feel
to
like
be.
He's
Spider-Man
come back from
is
this-
so much more around secret identity. Like I saw something where somebody said that they could easily have a Skrull turn to look like Peter and have Spider-Man swing overhead while Peter's there.
I was just about to say, he's come back from this so many times.
Yeah.
In the comics, where it's literally just somebody else put on the costume and make sure we're seen together.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, you can't be Spider-Man.
Right. And I feel like it would be really easy, especially if people don't know about Skrulls.
Is now the time for me to bring you my J. Jonah Jameson style crackpot theory for Spider-Man Home Away from Home or whatever the next one's called.
Well, let's talk about the second.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's going to play in anyway. The second post-credit scene.
It's not, but okay.
Is it not?
No.
Let's
No.
still talk about it real
Yeah.
quick, and then we can end with you going on your crackpot.
Give me my
schemes.
rant.
So the last scene, it's revealed that Nick Fury and Mariah Hill had spent the entire movie, at least this movie, as Skrulls
Yep.
and not as Sam Jackson. Which, do we ever find out where Kobe Smulders is?
No.
Interesting.
I don't think we do.
Because they were both Skrull, right? They both changed.
They both
Yeah.
were Skrull. Yeah.
It was the husband and wife. It was Talos and his wife.
I mean, maybe she's in space with Nick.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. Nick Fury's in space, and
This
he's
is-
building something.
Likely Sword.
You think so?
I do think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's opening up a lot for. This was the 30 seconds of here's a lot of what the next phase is.
Yeah.
So for those of you not in the know, Sword is
Including me on this current podcast.
it's like the space version of Shield, basically. If
It's
Shield
galactic.
Shield exists as like a terrestrial counterterrorism force. Sword is a space station orbiting Earth that exists as an extraterrestrial counterterrorism force,
Yeah.
basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's like galactic Shield, basically.
Love it.
Yep.
So,
I would bet every single podcast listener's entire salary that this is Sword.
yeah.
Yeah. I can't see it being anything else.
Yeah, well,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
after Endgame, you got to know that you
Yeah.
need to step up beyond.
Yep. And
Your
I think,
planet.
I think there will be, I think the next thing that we're building toward, this is not my rant zone that I was talking about. This is a mini rant that you get before the real rant. I think the next big event we're building toward will involve the final movements of the Kree-Skrull War, because Skrull Fury and Skrull Hill, at one point, a scene begins with them talking about, and it's crazy that there are still Kree cells active operating today. Then they change the subject and start talking about something else. I think they know that the Kree know they're still here and are mobilizing and moving toward Earth. And that's why we're creating Sword, and it's going to be some sort of, I don't think it's going to be as long coming as Infinity War and Endgame, but I think that the next big thing that we're building towards will be some sort of Kree-Skrull war involving our remaining heroes on Earth.
Yeah. And it's an easy involvement from like connection to Captain Marvel, everyone in Guardians.
It feels low stakes enough that it's not disrespectful to Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet,
to where we could get there pretty quickly.
But it also feels high stakes enough that it's not like, oh, why isn't this just a Thor movie or something?
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool.
I dig it.
I think that's a good call. Now give us your rant real quick.
Can I have my turn, please?
Yeah, make it fast, Doge.
Spider-Man 3. Dollars to donuts. This is what's going to happen. Matt Gargan is in prison right now. He was one of the Vulture's guys in Spider-Man Homecoming. He had a tattoo of a scorpion on his neck. In the comics, Matt Gargan becomes a villain with a powered exosuit called the Scorpion. And he is created by J. Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson hires him to kill Spider-Man and outfits him with all of this tech. Turns out he's trapped in this suit. And so he turns and attacks Jameson because he's stuck living in this mech suit.
Oh.
100% bet right now that will be Spider-Man 3. That J.K. Simmons will go through whatever black market connections he has. Maybe it's with the Vulture to bust Gargan out of prison, put him in the suit and say, this is the kid that put you there, go get him. And then he's going to turn on Jameson. Peter's going to have to save Jameson. And then Spider-Man will still be a menace in Jameson's eyes.
Yeah. Do we feel like Scorpion's the side villain? Like, or is he going to be the main villain, you think?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I would... I think in that world,
he feels
JK,
side to me.
like J. Jonah Jameson
would be
is
a villain.
But I could see that happening very easily. I really want and think they could go Kraven with the revelation of his secret identity.
Yeah.
I really feel like this is an easy segue into a Kraven's Last Hunt situation.
And if you have made a villain to be played by J.K. Simmons, great move.
Yeah.
Well, but you better bring the heat.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Ooh, that's the kind of stuff I love.
That's my money.
That'll be good stuff.
Love it.
So,
let's do it.
Thanks for listening. This was a fun episode. Big fan. Don't forget that next week
we have to rate this movie.
Oh my gosh, we do, don't we?
Are you serious?
Are you kidding me right now?
I just assumed that we all knew. This week, we're going to rate the movie. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We do that most weeks.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Well, if you insist. Here at Two Chunks and a Hunk, we have perfected the art of rating movies using science. The one from Peter's high school in this movie. The scientific cinema scale is perfect and as follows. The best thing we can ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it.
Buy that poster.
The next best thing we could ever say, that's going to be buy it. Followed by rent it and then stream it. After that, it's forget it. And last, but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie. God hath forsaken us.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Buy the poster.
Okay.
This ended up being one of my favorite MCU movies.
Okay.
I love Tom Holland. I love what was done with Mysterio. It was checking all the boxes. And they just keep doing it. It was not as impressive. So a lot of my buying the poster for Endgame was the fact that they were able to tie in all these loose, strings and make this all make sense.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could, this almost felt as hard or harder to do.
Yeah.
To be like, you've called it end. You've put end in the movie.
And now here we go.
But everyone knows the next phase, there's another phase. And there's no sign of the MCU slowing down.
Did you catch that on the subway thing in New York when Spider-Man's on the lamppost watching Jameson on the screen?
At the very end.
There's a construction thing. It's taped off and it says phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We're excited to show you what's next.
And
it's
then question marks.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Brilliant. But it's good. It's so good. MCU continues to just do everything right.
Yep.
So
yeah, I'm also going to buy the poster, I think. I'm just blown away by this movie. I want to say they can do no wrong. Obviously, they've got some weak links, but man, recently they are just absolutely scissor kicking everything they do.
100%.
It's so good.
This is also going to be an easy poster for me.
Yeah,
this is
I figured.
probably my favorite live action Spider-Man. Only one that would give it a run for its money would be Spider-Man 2.
I do love Spider-Man.
But this one is so good. So great. Such an easy poster purchase for me.
It's good stuff. Wow. What a movie. Well, now thanks for listening.
Now,
Really
thanks.
appreciate
Now you can do the part you wanted to
Now
do.
we can be thanks for listening. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Don't forget that next week we're going to be listening and reviewing. What am I saying?
We're going to be listening to Hitch next week. So
We're going to be reviewing Hitch as we continue our Summer of Love 2 Return to Summer series. So tune in because it's going to be delicious.
Summary.
To end today's episode, I would like for us each to say our name and what we believe the title of the next Spider-Man movie will be. For Two Chunks and a Hunk, I'm Jordan Wonders, and I have it on good authority that the next movie will be called Spider-Man, Home Again, Home Again. Jiggity jig.
Yes. I want it.
I'm Doge, and it will probably be mostly about Peter and MJ, so I'm calling it Home is Where the Heart Is.
That'll work.
And I'm Carter, and I've already looked at the credits. I've looked at the who they've cast. They just cast a yellow lab, which makes me think this is going to be Spider-Man Homeward Bound.
Oh, Carter. Oh, that's very good.